Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the new Marvel Legends animated styling Cyclops. And this is Hasbro Pulse exclusive, I believe, unless they just didn't sell it anymore. I'm gonna have to check again. I never know which things are exclusive because Hasbro likes to keep things unclear. Not really, like obviously you know when you're ordering it if it's exclusive or not, but there's just so many avenues with Marvel Legends and they're releasing so many so frequently, it's hard to keep track. Anyway, this is the Cyclops most people wanted. It's on the new body. It has some new parts, but it has the cell style shading. Most people don't like that, so we're going to have to see if it's any good. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. As I have been doing lately, I'll take a quick look at the packaging, and you might notice that the style of shading that they have on the figure doesn't quite match the artwork here on the box, and it certainly doesn't match in the artwork from the cartoon. So if you are partial to that, it doesn't quite look like it. It also doesn't quite look like that. If you notice on the back of the box, he's much brighter blue, or darker blue, not brighter, darker blue. So that's something to consider. Alright, so let's go ahead and do our height measurement and then we'll get into the aesthetic. This guy stands, not counting his hair flip, almost exactly 6.5 inches. That's going to make him just about 16.5 centimeters. Here he is up against Darwin. They are pretty close. Cyclops is just higher, so I'm going to say 1.1 Darwin's tall. This is on the new, I never remember the guy's name, Vulcan. I believe it's Vulcan, right? Vulcan body. And so that's a good thing. It is the best body they have. It is still flawed, especially for being a brand new mold, but it is by far, again, the best body they have. That does make this the best Cyclops they have done of the classic Jim Lee look. Without a doubt, if you ask me, it is uncontested. This is far better than before. We'll go over a few things that make that specifically true. The question is, does the paint make it better or worse? And my response is, it's almost inconsequential. It's noticeable as heck on the yellow parts, and I don't think they did a good job as usual. It doesn't look like shading at all. It just is streaks. We just have weird lines that don't really make a difference. The boots here have them. We have them right here and here and here. Like, it's just nothing. It's just weird color blocks. The visor, completely light yellow until you get to this side. It's not as egregious as we've seen in other figures. Doesn't look as bad, but it doesn't look good. And there is shading in the blue. It's just super hard to tell. If you look close, you can see it. Hopefully it's showing up on camera because of the lighting. You do have the blue streaks and the blue lines around his abs and stuff in his chest, but it's just so not different enough that it doesn't really work. And like I said, it doesn't match the cartoon at all. So again, they really just half-assed the shading. Some of you are still going to like the shading the way it is or not care enough anyway, and some of you are going to want to remove it. I do believe he is bare plastic where the shading is. So I think, now you might have some problem with the head because you do have some painted parts here and there, so you have to be careful. But I think he is bare plastic outside of the shading, so if you wanted to remove it, you could. Hopefully I'm right about that. It looks like that, except for maybe the head. Something's gotta go. Let's see. Trying to look in the camera. It looks like the yellow is molded and the blue is molded. If I had to guess, that's what I would say is the case. So be careful, but I think you can do it. So yeah. Luckily, the shading doesn't ruin the figure for me like it did for some of the other figures, but it definitely isn't as good as it should have been. This should have been such a home run line, these animated series figures. If Hasbro put in a little bit of effort to make them look good, they would have looked fantastic. And then if you don't like cell shading, fine, but at least they would have been good for what they are. The paint job on these is just not good enough. Luckily, they did put some effort into this guy to make him good anyway. It's a good base mold for Cyclops. I think it's just about perfect. But here's the thing that's awesome about this. They put the belt at the right height where it's supposed to be. It's not too low. It's up higher on his torso. And they redid his harness, and they did it exactly the way I did my custom one. I mean, I've made a lot of custom Deadpools with a harness like this, but I did a custom Cyclops like this a long time ago. And I'm not saying they copied me, but even if they did, I don't care. That's a good thing. It's a wonderful way to do it, and I'll talk about it in the articulation. But as you can see, it's not just a floating harness. It's a trick harness that slides because it's actually part of the ab crunch. And that is exactly the way to do it. That's awesome. And like I said, this part of the belt is much higher up. It goes all the way up to his ribs, basically. That's the way you want it. The head sculpt is a really nice head sculpt on this guy. I will say, though, the visor looks like crap because it's not cut properly. It's pinched in over here. Or it's not molded properly, I should say. Not good. I can live with the face paint and the lips the way they are, even though it's a bit pink. The visor definitely could be a lot better. That's a bummer. X logos are pretty clean. Yeah, it's a good looking Cyclops. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why, but it sucks that we have these swivels here in the forearm which don't actually swivel. That's just a matter of them reusing parts and not reusing parts and whatnot. So it's a little bit of a bummer that it's not better, but it is a really strong release. We don't have the loose straps everywhere again, so that's a good thing just on the wrists. So yeah, it's pretty solid. Aesthetically speaking, if I was just ignoring the paint job, I would say this is a 9 out of 10. It looks really good for Cyclops. I like a lot of things going on here. Much better proportion than like 99% of X-Men or even Marvel Legends in general. But including that crappy paint job, and considering it's supposed to be a good paint job, I'm going to knock it down to only an 8, which is still a solid score. You know, it's not bad, but it definitely could be a lot better. Now, as far as accessories go, we do get a little bit of a disappointment here. We have the 2 fist hands, we have 2 open hands, and then we have the 2 finger hand. No open mouth head, no optic blast. Maybe it's time for me to do the open mouth head Cyclops head that I worked on it a while ago. I'm still making Venom feet, so I don't know when I'm going to have time to do that. As soon as I'm done with the Venom feet sale, I'm going to try to move on to the next project quickly, but there's so many things to do as far as making Venom feet. It's just you guys ordered way too many. Anyway, accessory-wise, 5 out of 10. No optic blast effect at all? Goodness. Okay, let's talk about the articulation. Head looks up nicely. We have our hinge. Down's no problem. Side to side, obviously okay. Just a touch of a wiggle on that ball peg, not a whole lot. Butterfly joint on this guy, pretty limited. I'm guessing it has that problem where there's a peg in the center. So yeah, the butterfly joint is pretty crap. But I would just leave the arms back a little bit, and I think you're probably good. But anyway, butterfly joint doesn't work well. Shoulder is fine in the rotation. Going all the way up, you get almost a horizontal. You could probably, yeah, you can force it up there, so that's fine. Bicep swivel is fine. Not the nicest transition we've seen on a brand new mold, but it's okay. Shoulders are still a little bit small. Yeah, that's a bit of a bummer. No pins though, so that's a good thing if you guys like that. Double jointed elbow works nicely, no problems there. Wrists have a swivel and a hinge. Ab crunch does lean back, that's alright. It leans forward, that's pretty good. Waist twist is fine, it's under the belt, I'll take it, that's good. Hips going out to the side, not too far, but far enough. It's better than 45. And then going forward, they have to kick out to the side, and they don't have that much range. They don't go all the way up. So that's a bummer. Like I said, new mold with unnecessary problems is irksome. Thigh swivel is fine. Double jointed knee, that's pretty good. As you can see, our lower legs are just about the same length as our upper leg. That gives him a much better look. The proportioning is much better on this mold. The thighs are adequately long and have some meat to them, so that's a good thing. The ankles and knees do pinch in pretty well. And speaking of the ankles, we do get our hinge that goes all the way back, and it goes pretty far forward, and you get a decent enough ankle rocker, and you have a boot swivel if you want it, though that really should have been at the top of the straps. But they couldn't do that, so they didn't. But that's annoying, because they could have, but they didn't. So that's annoying. Yeah, it's pretty good. Articulation works well enough. It's not perfect. I'll give it, for Marvel Legends, actually, it only gets a 7. There's nothing special here. It's most of the good stuff that I was mentioning was like sculpt and things like that, like the legs and proportioning. But yeah, it's fine as far as the articulation goes. It's nothing crazy. But overall, this is the type of composition we should be seeing in terms of sculpt. Again, the paint job, it's not good. But the sculpt, the character appropriateness, this looks like the Cyclops I've wanted them to make forever. So I'm very pleased with that. So I'll give it a final rating of, not counting the bad paint job, 9 out of 10. Including the bad paint job, 8 out of 10. I happen to really like this figure. I'm very, very pleased with it. And Cyclops is one of my favorites, or at least he used to be in the X-Men. Then he turned into kind of a doofus. But anyway, this is the Cyclops you want to have in your collection. If you're going for Jim Lee stuff, this is the one. Even with the bad paint job, look past it or try to remove it, or just repaint the whole thing. But I'm guessing they're going to reissue this without the shading. Like, there's no way they're just not going to reuse the parts that they made. They reissue everything. So I expect that to happen. Maybe we'll get one that's in a darker blue. Maybe we'll get one in a lighter blue. I don't know. But in the meantime, this is a good one, and I have to say I recommend it. So there it is. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down, and if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel, so make sure you come back for all of that, and in the meantime, keep collecting.